Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Getting Smart with Xpertdoc Smart Forms and Document Flow Automation, presented by one of BFMA's Platinum sponsors, Expertdoc. My name is Terry Hansen, and I am Director of Education for BFMA. I would like to extend a big thank you to all the BFMA members and guests on the call today. If you're interested in previous webinars you may have missed, many of them are available and are recorded and are available in the members only section on our website, bfma.org. If you haven't visited our website in a while, please check it out. In addition to the recorded webinars, member benefits include the latest information on events and activities offered by BFMA, access to article databases, and many other information-rich resources to help you navigate the ever-changing world of forms. So if you're not already a member, we encourage you to join. Corporate group discounts are available. I have disabled the microphones for the participants to ensure good sound quality, but will enable them again for questions after the presentation. You can also use the chat box for questions and comments at any time during today's session. We will try to address all the questions today, or we will follow up by email if time doesn't permit. Joining us today are Pam Valensis, Corporate Marketing Manager and Partnerships, and Erwin Bugenhout, Project Manager for Xpertdoc. They will be tossing it back and forth to each other, so I'll let them go ahead and get started as they need to. And so without further ado, I'll hand over the microphone to Pam. Hi there, Pam.
Hi, Terry. Thank you very much for the intro, and thank you for all attending this afternoon to take time out of your busy day. So let's get started. So welcome to Xpertdoc. For those of you who may or may not know who we are, we have been around since 2000, and we are our mission, I should say, is really to empower organizations to deliver better documents by optimizing and automating consistent document flows from creation to delivery. And that's been our passion for the last 20 years and something we are constantly trying to improve as the years go by. So what makes Xpertdoc unique? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, like I mentioned, over 20 years of experience in exclusively focusing on forms and documents. Our solutions are scalable and flexible and can grow with your business. So we do have an API integrations that connect to a variety of different systems, depending on what you're using as your core system. Ease of use is a big one for us. We are proud that we offer really IT touchless solutions. And what we try to do with that is really empower the business user to be able to build and create their own document flows, forms, and templates instead of having to rely on IT. And lastly, our scope of product offering. So we're probably one of the only document generation providers that have entry-level solutions all the way up to full-scale enterprise automation, document flow automation solutions. So why do companies choose Xpertdoc? There's four main reasons. First of all, we definitely help modernize and accelerate their document creation process. That includes the design of the template straight through delivery. We can leverage data from and beyond your enterprise core system. So whether you're an insurance carrier using a policy admin system or an enterprise manufacturing company using CRM, we can leverage data from within those systems and combine either multiple systems to create really personalized documents and forms. A great thing about how we help many organizations is that we ensure consistency across not only documents, but across the flows themselves. So you can create your own outbound document flows, making sure that customers receive communications on a timely manner, and that can all be pre-scheduled. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, we really are trying to empower the business user by having a low-code, no-code solution and really trying to reduce the backlog that IT is facing. So who do we serve? We definitely play in a variety of different industries. Insurance, primarily, since they are probably the most document heavy of all. Public services, so we have government, education, legal, finance and banking and wealth, so a lot of credit unions, wealth management, and then distribution manufacturing, so telecom, utility, energy, pharma, food processing. So we really do cover a variety of different verticals. Our solution is definitely a horizontal solution. so we can play within any industry really. And then lastly, before I throw it over to Erwin, just some companies that we are working with. So again, insurance is a big focus for us since they are very document and form heavy. And then on the next slide, we do have other manufacturing companies, Toronto Hydro, a variety of different customers that we help with their document generation. So that was a quick little intro to who we are and what we do. Now I'm going to turn it over for the interesting part to Erwin, who's our product manager, and he'll give you kind of a rundown on our product.
All right, let me switch on my sound. Good afternoon, I guess, to most of you in the US. I'm coming in from Europe. Let me get back into presentation mode here. I'm coming in from Europe. I'm situated in Belgium, very close to Brussels. Since last year, to be honest, Xpertdoc has made an acquisition of a Belgian company called Invenso. And the product that Xpertdoc acquired at that point was called Xperdo, and I'm from that company behind that Xperdo document generation product, which has now been rebranded into SmartFlows, into Xpertdoc SmartFlows. So I'm going to talk a little bit about SmartFlows today, which is kind of our flagship product going forward, combined with smart forms. So we have smart flows on the one hand, which is really a tool that can help you create document flow automation processes. So it is very, very much targeted towards a business user with visual aids to actually draw those processes in a very straightforward, like kind of business process kind of way. And once you have drawn these processes, you can include things like forms to really catch user input during the document generation process. Okay, so once you have gathered all the input that you need, either from your core systems that you integrate with or from the user, then the next thing that you can do is actually save what you have created into a content management system, which we call Content Manager, which is obviously a very straightforward name there. And once you have saved that content into Content Manager, you can actually reuse it, retrieve it, reuse it. You can tag it, you can find it. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, there is a plugin. I'm going to use the plugin to retrieve content that is in the content management system in a very easy and straightforward way as well. Okay, so let's have a look. Demo time, that's right. So let's get out of this presentation and let's get into some live action here. So the time right now is 8:08 local time here in Belgium. So what I would like to do is go through a big chunk of the solution, let's say for half an hour or so, and then I'm gonna, or half an hour to 40 minutes maybe. I'll try to be concise. I'm a little bit verbose from time to time, so make sure to stop me with questions. And or maybe we're gonna do the Q&A by the end of the session. Let's do it that way. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into some demo stuff right now, and so basically this is a flow. This is what you're looking at right now is the Smart Flow solution. So once again, I'm going to show you Smart Flows, Smart Forms, and Content Manager. Those are all parts of one solution platform that we have, the Xpertdoc solution platform, and basically that's what we're showing today. So first of all, the flows, what's that all about? It's all about document generation and delivery processes. So you basically draw out a process that circles around a main component being the generation of a document. And it's very easy to set up such a flow. It can have multiple branches. I'm going to show you flows later on that have conditional branches and everything. But these are really things that business users can draw and can create. Really users that are from your business departments, not only your IT department. Kind of our mission to take the entire document generation and document document automation and document delivery process, take all of that away from IT and really give more responsibility to the business end user over there, so that they can at least manage their own processes. Maybe they are going to need a help from IT from time to time, but the chunk of the work should be well, they should be capable of doing that themselves. That's the main idea. That's how we want to think about document flows. Okay. So let me just start the demo a little bit from the point of view of the end user and just run this testing, so you can kind of have a feel of what that should look like. And I can see that I got a broken image here. That's a bit strange. So anyway, so there should be a logo here. Let me just see if I can bring it up if I refresh it over here. So that's better. Okie dokie. So here we are. So this gives you kind of an idea of what a form can look like. In this case, it's a smart form that we call from within a smart flow. As a matter of fact, and you can see that you can actually navigate in tabs in this form. You can start filling out the form fields over here. Like this is, for instance, my demo company that I want to kind of fill out here. And as you update the form fields over here, you can see that it gets updated straight away. So let's go for a plan here, an insurance plan, Max Care 2020. And we can change the website and everything. You can change other things in that form. You can see that there are different types of form questions that you can ask, like option sets here. Let's go for indemnity over here, for instance. And there you go. So, it's kind of a rich form experience and rich form completion experience here for your users who can go through all the questions, and whenever they're finished filling out this entire form, they can basically click next, and that will continue the process. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to retrieve all the data that our end user has filled out from the form, and we're going to email that form straight away to somebody who has actually applied for this SBC right here. So let's have a look. Let's go into the inbox, and there you go. A second one has just come in, and this is basically an email that we have created right here that is going out from me. I'm pretending to be a senior account manager here for Sunlimo, our phony demo company that we're using. That basically is also generated through Experlogix, and contains basically the document that we have produced. Okay, so we can download the document, open it up over here. Let's have a look at what it is. So this is the document that we produced. So we have our demo company over here, 2020, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in indemnity, it says over here, and it's an individual plan, and this is the rest of that document that we have produced. Okie dokie. So this is basically, if you look at what actually happened, let me take it back to the flow that I just ran over here. Actually, what we did is we started our flow from the flow execution panel as we ran a test. Okay, we retrieved some data from a smart form that we filled out, and it's a very rich form experience. I'm going to open up the smart forms creation or designer experience in just a second, so you can have a look at how that's all created. We generated a document, and we can set all sorts of settings for that document that you create. We just pick up the data over here. We decide what the document name should be. If we want to put a timestamp in the name, we can do that. If you want to generate it in another format than docx, which I did, then you can do that, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then we emailed that document out. Obviously, I just used some fixed values over here, but you can kind of connect this to other fields, for instance, fields that come from your form. Okay, or from data that you collect from core systems. And maybe that's something that I would like to demonstrate as well. The fact that smart flows as a as a document generation process system, can tap into a lot of systems that you may or may not have in your company, but that you might want to use as systems of data. So let me just open up another browser here. And just to demonstrate a couple of things, I have this Microsoft Dynamics 365 environment open, for which we have a turnkey integrator. Okay, the SmartFlows, Xpertdoc SmartFlows turnkey integrator for Dynamics 365. But we have other things like for Sugar CRM, we have stuff, we have connectors for SharePoint and so on and so forth. So I'll just use, I'm going to use a lot of Dynamics 365 as a sort of starting point to show you a couple of things that the system can do. But keep in mind that that we integrate with our systems as well. I'm just using this dynamic system as a source of data, just to have a source of, of data for the demo. Okie dokie. If you look at how our customers are using smart forms and smart flows, the example that I just gave you is a typical one. It's one that you see a lot in insurance companies, for instance, where a massive form needs to be filled out and a lot of fields and a lot of logic in that form and everything. And that data is the main source, that form is the main source of data that needs to be captured. The user input is the main source of data that needs to be captured. And then we go on to pass that data onto the document generation system that will generate a document with it and then process that document, deliver it or store it wherever it needs to be stored. Okay, so that's a typical scenario for an insurance company, for instance. If you look at other companies, other customers that we have, many of those have a sales department, and a very typical challenge that the sales department has is the creation of quotations. Okay, so typically they use a CRM system for that, whether it be Salesforce or Dynamics 365 or Sugar or HubSpot or whatever. These systems, they usually have a way to capture opportunities and quotations, but in many cases, they do not really contain an easy button or one button to push kind of way to generate and deliver a document out of that looks like a very nice quotation. Okay, and that's basically the for many customers, that's the main reason why they purchase our solution, because they want exactly that. Many companies have very personalized, specialized, very broad quotations that they want to present to their customers to showcase their products and their offerings. And well, honestly, not many CRM systems have that functionality out of the box. So that's where we come in with SmartFlows mainly. So let me try to demonstrate a couple of things here to kind of demonstrate the power of the solution. Okay, so starting here from a list of quotes in Dynamics. I'm going to try and show you a couple of scenarios here. I have a sales scenario where we are going to generate a quote and take it through an approval process, depending on the total amount of the quote. And then there's another scenario that is requiring some user input and is not only capturing data from Dynamics, but also from an external product management system, and bringing those data points together and combining all that data together, and then in the end generate a quote and deliver the quote with it. Okay, so but let's first of all go through the approval process scenario, where we basically look at the total amount of the quote, and depending on whether that amount is more than 100K, what we're going to do is either send a quotation directly through the potential customer to sign it using DocuSign as an electronic signature provider, or if it's more than 100K, basically what we're going to do is we're going to send an email to our account manager first to approve the quote, and then we can set up a workflow to continue the process later on when the quote has been approved. Okay, so let me just first of all run the one with the fanciest one, so the one with the e-signature provider part in it. So basically what you want to do is you can either start from a list view or from a detail view in your system, in your dynamic system over here. And then we have this turnkey integration that comes with a button that you can push. And if you push the button, it basically brings up a selection window where you can select which quote you want to run in this case, or which document flow you want to start. Okay, so I got this flow with external data and user input, and I got my quote also with an approval process into it, and this is the one that I want to run. So I selected, if I'm not mistaken, I selected the one under 100,000. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to grab some data for me. Then as we continue, it's going to generate a document and it's going to send it off to DocuSign. Okay, so there we are. And let me just get back to good old Renee Valdez's email address over here. I think she received another email, this time from DocuSign. And that email is basically asking her to review a document and sign it. Okay, so first of all, we get asked whether we want to use DocuSign as an e-signing provider, and then we say yes and start the process. So if you look at the document that we produced, you can see that it's a pretty rich document. It starts with an opening letter. We sign it off, so it's this cover letter first. Then we have the typical table of products that you would see in any quotation, right? There are discounts that we can calculate that we can just take from CRM, but they're calculated in this case. And as a matter of fact, there's also conditional boxes here around these table rows that will only show them provided that there actually is a discount, because you don't want to tell your customer or potential customer very bluntly that you value him or her so much that you're going to give him a 0% discount. So this is all in conditional boxes, making sure it shows up only when it's desirable to show up. Okie dokie. So what else do? We pull in some external data, which in this case is living as node attachments in the Dynamics environment, bringing in those spec sheets that are saved as Word documents, I think, but we also support PDF content and HTML content to be pulled into a document that you produce, as you can see. And so we bring in those items and we loop them and group them by type of product. And there you go. So we got some solar boiler in here as well, some general terms and conditions, and then finally some information about our Phonies and Limo demo company. And then here we finally arrive at the place where we need to sign the thing, and then this is the typical DocuSign experience where you sign the quotation in question. So let's hit finish. So there's a lot of clicking about in DocuSign here. So let's say no thanks, and there we go. So we're now done, and if we go back over here, then DocuSign is telling us that the status of this thing is completed. Now the cool thing is, if we take it back to our flow that we were running over here, basically the flow will continue. So it's waiting. It's, as you can see here, it's still in a waiting state right now. It's actually waiting for an external event, and now it's picked up on the external event. The external event being that our signer, so the person that needed to sign the document, that was Renee Valdez, actually takes action. So she did that. Well, I did it in her name. And what actually happened right now is that we created a note in Dynamics, and I can go to that note in my record. We created a note over here. So let me just take you there. If it wants to load over here, no, hang on. Where is my notes section? It's over here. So it's going to be in my timeline. So there you go. So we created this note saying, hey, document signed, good news, the customer has signed the quotation, please find the signed document attached to. Let's click that. It's going to bring up the document, and there you go. And this will be the document with the signature that I just placed in there. Okay, so that's, now we come full circle really with a salesperson that is actually starting, in this case, from Microsoft Dynamics, or any other CRM system that we support, basically hits a button to start a flow, and the flow will take us through the rest of the process. It will first of all decide, well, what's the total amount of this quotation? Is it more than 100,000, or is it less than 100,000? If it's less than 100,000, hey, then I'm going to send it through DocuSign to the person who actually needs to sign the quotation. And how do we know who that is? Well, we take it from here, from the quote contact field in Dynamics in this case. So we pick up that data from your system of data being CRM in this case. We use that to actually deliver the quotation through the method of choice being DocuSign in this case. We wait for that person to take action, and no worries that that flow can sit there waiting for weeks. If we can even check and trigger people and create tasks and create nodes that come into people's agendas. Hey, you need to call this person because they still have to sign their quotation and everything. So that can be part of the flow as well. And then finally they take action, and that it kind of awakens the flow that was in the sleeping mode, in a pending mode, and it continues to, in this case, save the signed document as a note attachment to a node related to the quote record in Dynamics, right? So it's full circle. The fact that it integrates so well with Dynamics in this case means that you keep all your data very close to where your information about your customer lives, namely your CRM system in this case. And it's one big automated process. Okay, if we run it for the other quote, let me just do that. So get back to quotes over here and start it from the large quote over here. Hit smart flows again. I'm going to run that same flow. Something else is going to happen right now. So there we go. Quote with approval process. I'm going to run that one. Something else is going to happen right now because this is a quote with that is higher than 100K in total value. So what we're going to do is we're going to send an email to the account manager for approval. Okay, and if we look at that email, it's a very straightforward. We could have made this very much more fancy, like the email that you just saw in Gmail just a second ago. But this is a very simple email. If Dynamics wants to load it for us, there you go. From me to Jim Cassidy over here that says, please approve quotation. Hi, dude. So come on, please approve the quotation because I want to get this signed by the customer. And it's attached over here. You can have a look at it. So there we are. Same thing, only different products in here and full total of 152. And there you go. Okay, ready to send out to the customer and get signed. Okay, so that's kind of a sales scenario, a very typical scenario for Xpertdoc. We cover that scenario for so many customers who are all looking for a good tool to do well to do quoting. Yeah. And we also combine, by the way, pretty well with CPQ solutions that do not have a very rich document generation component. Okay, so there are quite a few of them that we regularly integrate with, and that kind of the combination of a CRM system, a CPQ system, and then a document flow automation system. That's really your perfect combination to get everything done. All right, so that's a quoting scenario. I'm gonna just before we move on to a couple of other scenarios, what I definitely want to show you as well is a scenario where we bring in external data. So let me just do that from this large quote here that I'm on already, and let me just use this one, quote with external data and user input. So this combines a few other things. So actually, what we're gonna do is create a very similar quote in this case, but with a few extras. Here, basically what we're going to do is ask a couple of questions first to the end user, like for instance, hey, do you want to use an alternative text for the first paragraph of the cover letter? So you can say something like, it was great to see you in the webinar. Thanks for joining. I thought I'd send you a quote straight away. It's just a hint. There you go. So that's the first paragraph over here. So we're going to open our quotation with this, and then you saw those product descriptions. You know, we could opt out of those product descriptions by just ticking or unticking this box. There you go. And then there's the section of the terms and conditions. You know, we can go for the short version. Let's cut on the red tape a little bit. Go for the short version of those terms and conditions. Let's hit next, and then basically what we're going to do in this case, it's a very similar quotation. We're going to retrieve the data from Dynamics, and what else are we going to do? We're going to add some more data to that. Data that we capture from a product management system. Where we're going to check the availability of the products in our quotation, and where we're going to bring in some additional details around the products. So okay, let's open up. Allow. There you go. And this is what it looks like. So it's very similar. And here's our opening paragraph. It says, "It was great to see you in the webinar. Thanks for joining. I thought I'd send you a quote straight away." Okie dokie. And these are the products in our quotation, the 40-cell solar panels and the 20-cell solar panels. And what we brought in here is the color, dimensions, the vendor, and it's 2 times the same vendor, same dimensions. But what we see over here is that it says sufficient stock as well. And basically what we're doing over here is we'll look at the quantity, that it's a field that's coming from Dynamics, and we compare that field to a field that's coming from a second data set that we added to this template. And that second data set is related to an external source, an external data source. It's bringing in that external data, and it has a field called quantity in stock, and it's comparing those 2 fields. And when the quantity in stock exceeds the quantity ordered or the quantity quoted, then basically it says sufficient stock in black. If it's the other way around, it will say insufficient stock in red. Okay, so that conditional formatting, conditional content insertion, that's all part of the product as well. Okay. So same thing over here. You see the general terms and conditions. We set the short version, so we get the short version of the terms and conditions over here. We're still San Limo. So there you go. As you can see, the thing has headers and footers. You can perfectly map fields in headers and footers. A datum is the name of our potential customer. March 30 is the date, the effective until date. You can see that we can have these dates formatted in different ways, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a few things that we can do. Okay, so a couple of more end user driven things that I want to quickly show you, because I've been focusing now on forms on the one hand, and on sales processes on the other hand. I'm going to show you a couple of other things as well. For instance, marketing scenario, or maybe just let me just start with the a scenario that goes from an account here in Dynamics, which is maybe a management scenario, more management reporting scenario. Come on, Microsoft, work along. There you go. It's taking ages to load from time to time here, my Dynamics. So let's have a look. So we have this this account record in Dynamics, and we can have a look look at how we are performing for this account. So we have the Smart Flows button over here. We're on a different entity, a different table, if you want, in Dynamics. So what we're going to do now, or what we're going to see now, is that we have different items, so different flows that are available. You saw earlier on when I was on the quotes table, I saw 2 types of quotes that I could generate. Now I'm in a different context in my application, so I see different flows that I can run. Okay. Also, depending on user profiles, some users may have access to more information than others. We can also kind of limit or filter what people can see and what they cannot see. Okay, so for instance, say that we're the CEO of the company, we can definitely have a look at the opportunities report to have a look at how we are performing and what open opportunities we have for this particular customer. And it kind of illustrates the rich formatting options also that we have and data presentation options that we have. So let's have a look at what we produced over here. It's a PDF once again, and this time it's password protected. You know, it's your eyes only. It's only for the for the C levels, right? And they know that the password is admin. So there you go. So here we are. So I can zoom into this thing and I get a nice. This is, how is that for gender equality in this company? And we can also see that, well, pretty much nobody has subscribed to our magazine, which is not good. We have to act on that. What else do we see? We have opportunities in this in this for this particular potential customer. It's not a potential customer; it is a customer because we have one opportunities as well. And there you go. This is how they are divided, and this is, for instance, by estimated revenue, and here we see the numbers, right, and the counts. Yeah, okay, so we can do sums, and we can do counts, and we can do averages, and all sorts of things. Okay, so this is, you know, when you want to see a quick overview report for a customer, or you want to, you know, check some or check your top 5 opportunities in your system, that sort of thing, that sort of reporting. If you want to receive that on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, whatever, we can produce those documents for you. All right, so let's head back to Dynamics and let's go into a marketing scenario, maybe go through a list of accounts. And if we select like 4 or 5, or you can select as many as you want to, and you want to run a flow on all those documents, sorry, on all those records at the same time, you can perfectly do so as well. Let's hit Smart Flows. And once again, I'm always starting from Dynamics just because I need to start it from somewhere, and I need some data, system of data that I want to start my processes from. So, but remember, we can integrate this with practically any solution, and we do have quite a few turnkey integrators to widespread enterprise and business solutions. So I was about to run a marketing scenario where you want to send out a letter to all the selected items here. I selected, what, 4 or 5, I'm not sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to run that, and it runs in its own window, so you can definitely navigate away, no worries. It just goes on, and you can see that there's a progress bar that you can follow, and for all of the items that we selected, it's going to generate a document. It's going to store the generated document in SharePoint. So if you open up 8atom over here, then you can see that we're in the San Limo El Paso SharePoint.com environment right now. So we're in Microsoft SharePoint. We can open it up, and there you go. This is exactly what we're seeing over here. Okay. All right, so this is a letter, a welcome letter that we send out. Okay. Final scenario that I'm going to show you from an end user perspective is the scenario, or is a field service scenario. So let's do that. Say that you're in the field and you're a company that sells solar panels, and at a certain point in time, a solar panel got hit by a hailstorm, and you wanna go out there and fix it or replace it, and you want to do a report that the customer has to sign off on right there, right then. Okay, so then you can actually run it through through Smart Flows straight away. All right, so let's present that intervention report. So you can click it, it opens up, and there you go. We're sending it to DocuSign, and in this case, we're actually creating an in-person signing experience. So we're generating the document, and then the document is presented right there and right then to the end user. So, or the end user, the person that needs to sign off on the report. So we can hit continue. So, and the idea is that you basically generate a document and do this on a mobile device like a tablet. Ask me later. And that you present it right now to the person who needs to sign this. You pass on the tablet. And so there you go. You can see that we can bring in pictures and everything, and that there's overviews of the work that has been completed and the materials used. And well, there's a grand total over here. And you can actually sign off. There you go. Adopt and sign. Finish this thing. And in this case, it's just it's once again going to continue the flow that we started earlier on. Yeah, it's going to continue that. In this case, it's going to pick up the signed document and it's going to put it into SharePoint, in the SharePoint document location related to the customer or the work order we started the process from. Okay, it's going to take a wee while. We're going to wait until we pick up on that signing event in DocuSign. You can hit refresh a couple of times to kind of try and speed up the process, but in the end, it's going to be there. So we're going to pick up the generated document and then store it into SharePoint, and we can take it over there and have a look at it. This brings us back to SharePoint, and it says intervention report case and then the case number. So there we are, and you can see the signature that has been placed in there. Okay, so these are all views at Xpertdoc Smart Flows from an end user perspective. So what I would like to do now for the time that we have left is actually take it to the through the admin experience. So I'm going to go and type project in this URL over here. And this will take me to the admin experience of SmartFlows, where you have access to a control panel that allows you to set up the connectors to the different systems of data that you are using as starting points or endpoints that you want to connect to, where you can set up languages and all sorts of things. Where you also can have a look at the reporting. By the way, I can open up the reporting, and as an administrator, I can now see basically what's happening in this project. So I can see all the flows that we have been running through throughout the session today. So as you can see, this is where we started at 2023. I started doing stuff in this project, and we saw quite a few things that happened over here. You can have a look at how things have been happening over time, not by day, but for instance, by week, or let me just do it by day of the month. Well, I didn't do much in this project, so it seems. But anyways, so you can see who's been active and which flows have been run, which were the most popular flows. And also, if you look at these flows, you can actually get the details of your flow runs. So there you go. And you can see what happened here. So we retrieved the work order, we generated a document, we send it to DocuSign, and then it got stored in SharePoint. So you can see what happens over here. You can filter your reports to only show failed executions and so on and so forth. So that's your reporting part of it to follow up on all the document flows that you run. Okay. If you look at the connectors, this is basically where you define to which systems we are connected. We're connected to a Microsoft SharePoint, a Microsoft Dynamics, and DocuSign over here. This is all using OAuth integration, so it's we try to integrate with our systems as securely as humanly possible. So that's what we do. I shouldn't say humanly, I should say systemly possible. That's how we do it. Okay, so all pretty well configured and easy to do. Okay, then if you look at the main part of the solution, what it actually does is it allows you to create data sets that define the data that you want to pull into your documents that you want to produce. It allows you to create templates, and it allows you to create flows, and flows are document generation and delivery processes, right? So let's have a look at our data sets that we have, data sets that we support. And you can hit create to create a new one. And basically there are three types of data sets that we support. Standard data sets, which actually come through a connector. standard connector, custom connector, schema connector. And schema connector is basically an XSD connector where you can bring in schema definition files and use those as a source of data. And custom is where you want to ask questions. A fourth type of connector that we haven't set up in this particular environment, we have it in the other one, is the smart forms connector. Okay. Templates, there are two types of templates that we support. If we want to create a new one, we can go for standard templates, which is the standard template stuff. And then compositions. If you look at compositions, compositions are basically basically jigsaw puzzles where you have a header zone, a footer zone, an insert zone, and a body zone. Where you can drag in different standard templates to combine them. Say that you have a terms and conditions section that you want to reuse across your different templates, then you can create that one time and just drag it into different compositions. And composition parts can be brought into the into the generated documents in a conditional way as well. And then you have the flow part. And let me just show you, for instance, the quote with the approval process, which is a nice one, I think, to show you, where we define where we start from. We start this one from Dynamics, for instance. We retrieve the quote data from Dynamics. We generate a document, and then we check whether the quote is more than 100K. Okay, if we look at how we can edit that condition, it's very straightforward. We basically set or define that this is a value that we want to check. We go and find the field that we want to use, and this is the field that we want to select. It's the total amount field over here, and then we want to use it as a number. We check that we want to use the is greater than operator, and then we just type 100,000 over here as a value to compare. You can actually compare it to another field. If you want to compare two values, you can perfectly do that as well. So that's a true false false branching over here. We also do switches where you can have more than two branches. But then here you go. You can send the email if it's more than 100. You can send the email to the account manager. If it's less than 100, you send it to DocuSign and then create a note. And the note, as you can see, refers back to the signed document in this tab and attaches that to the note that we create. Okay. So that's how the flows work. And then real quickly, let me just log into before we open it up for questions. Let me just real quickly also go into the preview environment of Portal. So let me just go to HTTPS preview.portal.expertdoc.com. And this is actually where we have those forms, where we build those forms. Okay. So I need to take it to insurance, and in the insurance folder, I have this SBC form that we were using. And this is the form, this is where you build it, and I can take it to the edit form experience where you have the design view and where you can play around with the form as much as you want. So you remember that you saw the logo there on the left-hand side, that you saw that the summary that updated when I was changing stuff, navigation that we had over there. And so that's the first page of that form. And then we had the different tabs in that form, and those different tabs are presented as different groups here in the form layout, and you can easily add fields to those different groups by just dragging them in. Like if you want to add a text box, you just drag it in position, and you want to indicate what the label should be for the text box, what the default value should be for the text box. If you want to predefine or pre-fill it with data coming from a system that you're connected with, you can do so. You can make it visible or set visibility conditions, and so on and so forth. You can set your validations and so on and so forth. So we support quite a few different form or field types that you can put on your input form. And we also support subforms. So if, for instance, if you want to have repeatable sections in your form, then you can perfectly do so by creating subforms. Yeah. At any time in the process, you can preview what your form looks like, and you can also have an XML view. If you are a developer, then you can actually go and edit the XML over here to build your form. Okay. Okie So I can see that we have about 10 minutes remaining. I could tell you a lot also about the designer, the template designer experience that we have. But rather than doing that, maybe I want to open it up for questions at this point to make absolutely sure that you have that we can spend some time answering your questions.
We'd like to open the floor to questions at this time. Your microphones have now been enabled. Do we have any questions for Pam or Erwin? I have a question coming in from Margaret. Where within the organization is this software usually installed?
In terms of the different departments that use it, is that the question?
Where do you find this as a best use for a corporation?
Well, what we see in many cases, if we look at the majority of our customers that are in banking or insurance, then it's all about forms. That's the main thing that it's used for, whether it's policy opening, whether it's account opening, that sort of thing. So that's a very important division that we're working with. If you look at non-financial and non-insurance operations, then usually where you find this is sales. Everything that has to do with quoting, everything that has to do with invoicing. So typically documents that are content rich. And where a lot of, usually when you look at the transformation that we assist companies with, then it's typically going to be the documents that take a lot of work, a lot of manual work at this point, where we gain a lot of productivity by being able to automate the generation and delivery process for those documents.
Thank you. I see that we have a couple more questions coming in here. So I find Kathy's got a question for us. What skills are needed for designing the forms and templates? Is it an IT resource with coding experience, or
no? That's absolutely
forms design and analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, you don't need any coding skills whatsoever. I mean, if you're pretty good with Word, with Microsoft Word, then that's all you need. It's very, very straightforward. I could definitely show you a couple of things, but I need to be aware of the time, and I definitely want to make sure that we have some time left for questions. But it's just clicking about in Word. If you want to do a loop, it's a 3-click process. You just simply select which part of the document you want to repeat, and you select something that's repeatable in your data set, and you hit the loop icon, and basically that's it. And you can sort it by clicking the sort icon. It's super easy.
I have another question coming in. Are the forms scalable for different devices, such as iPad iPhone?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything is HTML5. It's all responsible. It's all responsive and responsible as we are. No, it's all responsive. So absolutely, everything is responsive design. You can scale it. You can show it on any device. Works perfectly.
Excellent. Excellent. So is this software available for all different platforms, PC and Mac, or one or the other?
Well, so the end user experience is perfect, renders perfectly on all sorts of devices. If you look at the designer experience, then we must say that it requires I think it requires a Windows machine, because actually the template design add-in comes as a COM add-in for Microsoft Word, and I think that runs only on a Windows on Windows environment. So I'm afraid that the people, if they're really Mac fans or Apple fans, I'm afraid that the designers, the template designers, will need a Windows machine to design the templates, and everything else is platform independent.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Sorry.
See, somebody's saying, "Oh, so sad." Come on, it's not all that bad.
I'm crying from here.
That was funny.
Are there any other questions for Pam and Erwin? I see another question coming in. See a couple of questions coming in. Can forms that are subject to regulatory review be submitted to legal?
Oh, that's a good question. You can basically you can be submitted, like you want to actually pass them on for an approval process and everything. Well, since you can actually make them part of a flow, and a flow is a process that you can go through, or that you have to go through, you can perfectly set up that entire process where things need approval before they go on. Also, if you want to if you think about deploying the thing, so making sure that before you put things into production, they're tested and they're approved and everything, you can do so as well. We perfectly support application lifecycle management, where you go from a development to a testing to an acceptance environment and so on and so forth, and promote your work all the way through to production. I'm not sure whether that answers the question. Just want to verify there.
Do you have ISO forms that are ready to use?
I'm not sure whether we have them out of the box. It's not like we have a massive library, I think, of forms ready to use. But let me just verify that internally, because I know that it's been something on the list of things to do, and I'm not 100% sure where we are in that endeavor. So let me just, if that's okay for you, let me just try to circle back to that question as a follow-up.
Oh, Erwin, maybe perfect. I can add some color to that. So how our ISO service works is we would leverage your own ISO subscription. So where we would help we would be able to, once you download the forms from ISO, we can convert them into Xpertdoc templates from there, and then help with the generation afterwards.
Thank you for that, Pam. I hope that answers your question, Kathy. Margaret comes across with, can you build objects, save them to a library, and then reuse them?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can definitely use subforms and reuse them across forms, and you can save assets as well and bring them into documents and all of that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I agree with what Margaret had said earlier about thanks for the eye-opening presentation. I'd like to thank Pam Valensis and Erwin Bugenhout for taking us behind the scenes and showing us Xpertdoc's document generation platform, intuitive smart forms, and the demonstration of the automated features Xpertdoc software has to offer. I encourage you to go to BFMA's website and navigate to the members and sponsors page to learn more about Xpertdoc. Continue to watch for your email and the BFMA website for additional training opportunities along with the latest goings-on, including information on BFMA's 2019 annual conference in Anaheim, California. The Members Only section provides access to newsletter archives, resources including articles, job descriptions, salary surveys, white papers, and recorded webinars. If you are not currently a member, we encourage you to join and begin enjoying the benefits of BFMA membership. Thank you and have a great day.